The handwriting of God. There is a kind of silence that only descends after something eternal has spoken, and once you have heard it, the noise of the world can never quite fill the space again. A hand appears out of nothing, no arm, no body, only fingers, moving across plaster in the middle of a party no one wanted to end, and the king who commands nations begins to shake at the wrist of nothing. This is not a myth. This is not a warning wrapped in metaphor. Daniel 5 verse 5. In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. A message, written in real time, in front of 1,000 witnesses, at the height of a celebration built entirely on borrowed time. By morning, the man reading that sentence would be dead, and somewhere in the gap between the writing and the dying is a question every generation since has had to answer. What happens in the space between being seen and being judged? A kingdom rarely collapses in a single night. It erodes slowly in rooms where everyone has quietly agreed to stop noticing until the hour arrives when the silence finally breaks. Go back nearly 26 centuries. Babylon, roughly 539 years before Christ. Decades earlier, Nebuchadnezzar had conquered Jerusalem, emptied its temple, and carried a generation into exile. Among the captives, a boy named Daniel. Now Daniel is old, Nebuchadnezzar is gone, and his descendant Belshazzar sits on a throne that is quietly disintegrating. Outside the walls, Cyrus and the armies of Persia are closing in on an empire already hollow at its center. Inside, they are celebrating. Belshazzar calls for the sacred vessels stolen from Jerusalem's temple, cups once separated for the worship of God, and pours common wine into holy things. What the Hebrew reveals here matters. The word behind written in Jeremiah is not casual ink, it is engraving, the mark of a stylus or a diamond point, cut into stone so it cannot be washed away. Jeremiah 17 verse 1. The sin of Judah is written with a pen of iron and with the point of a diamond. It is graven upon the table of their heart. And Jeremiah says more. Chapter 17 verse 13. Those who forsake the source of life shall be written in the earth. Long before fingers touched a wall in Babylon, the prophets had already said it. What you bury does not disappear, it is engraved. Every life eventually reaches a night when the music stops, and what remains is only the truth you have been managing carefully not to see. There is a moment every person reaches, whether they call it that or not. A moment when the applause fades and what is left is only the self, unmanaged, unfiltered, unphotographed. We have all learned to curate what is seen, the version of the story we tell, the reputation we protect, the past we quietly edit. Hebrews 4 verse 13. Neither is there any creature that is not manifest in his sight, but all things are naked and opened unto the eyes of him with whom we have to do. Your spouse may not know, your friends may not know, your closest confidant may not know, but the hand that wrote on Belshazzar's wall was never confused about what it was writing. Belshazzar was not judged for what he didn't know. Scripture says he was judged though he knewest all this. He had history, he had warning, he simply stopped being troubled by it. That is the most dangerous inheritance of all. Not ignorance, but familiarity with what should still unsettle you. But there is a second kind of writing, one that does not descend to expose and condemn, but kneels in the dirt to offer a different ending. Centuries later, in Jerusalem, they drag a woman before a rabbi, caught, exposed, humiliated, evidence held up for a crowd already holding stones, and Jesus, instead of speaking, stoops down and writes on the ground. John 8 verse 6. Jesus stooped down and with his finger wrote on the ground. Somewhere behind that moment is an echo few notice. The prophet had already said it centuries before. Those who turn away are written in the earth. Now God, in flesh, kneels and writes in that same earth, not in warning but in mercy. One by one the accusers leave, the oldest first, as if age alone teaches a man how much he too has needed forgiveness. And then the sentence that reframes everything. John 8 verse 11. Neither do I condemn thee. go and sin no more. Not it didn't happen, not it doesn't matter. A different ending offered to someone already weighed and found wanting by everyone else in the room. This is the hinge the whole story turns on. The same God who once wrote judgment on a wall of stone now promises something greater. Hebrews 10 verse 16, I will put my laws into their hearts, and in their minds will I write them. The handwriting moved from a wall that condemned to a heart that could be remade. Grace does not erase what was written. It simply chooses, at great cost, to write something new over it. So return, one last time, to that palace. The music has stopped meaning anything. The gold has stopped meaning anything, and the hand is still moving, numbered, weighed, divided. Every life is weighed by something. The only question is what it's weighed against, what you accumulated or what you became. There is handwriting that reveals, handwriting that convicts, handwriting that left unanswered long enough becomes handwriting that judges. But there is also handwriting that kneels in the dirt beside you and offers another ending. So before this fades into whatever comes next in your evening, ask the only question that was ever really being asked in Babylon and in Jerusalem and now here. If the hand were writing on the wall of your own life tonight, would it be recording what you have hidden or what you have finally allowed to be healed?